Hello, lovely people, and welcome to the Lovely Digest podcast. I am your host and friend Emily, founder and creative director at Bet Creative, sharing weekly wellness wisdom with you every Wednesday. My goal is to help you design your dream life and make the transition from being in information overload to being your own personal success story. Make sure to subscribe to get notifications every time a new episode comes out so you don't miss the latest simple and actionable tips for improving your well-being. Hello all and welcome back to another episode of The Lovely Digest. Please excuse my voice. I have some seasonal allergies. We love that. I just wanted to thank you all for your love from the article I wrote for The Good Trade, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Emily. If you haven't had a chance to read the article, you can check out the link in the show notes. It's all on how to do a life audit and become your best self. So I'm really happy you're here if you're new. And because there's so many new people here, I wanted to do an Ask Me Anything episode on health and wellness. So we're going to dive deeper into some questions that I asked through my Instagram story. So if you're here listening on the podcast and you want to participate in future Ask Me Anythings or ask any questions or send me a message, please feel free to head over to Instagram and follow at Lovely Digest. So today I have screenshot some questions that I have. Okay, yeah, here we are. So I have some questions. Also, I know I have started filming these in person. I started filming them for YouTube because I know that a lot of people listen. I forget what the statistic is, but apparently there's a lot of people who like to watch podcasts on YouTube, which I kind of agree with. Like, I like just putting on the video and having it play in the background when I'm doing stuff like working or whatever it is. So I wanted to make those available for you guys. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to have time to do those recordings for this month, and if you don't know, I batch edit, so around like the 15th of the month I will write all the content, and then another day I will record all of the content, and then I will design all of the social media and put together the videos, and then I will schedule it all. So there's a lot of moving parts, and in order to just make these videos and stuff on time and these podcasts on time, because it's April 23rd right now, and so I have a week until May, I am not doing a live recording. So I'm sitting here in my PJs, and I will be putting something on YouTube, but apologies, you can't see me. So I will aim to do that for next month. I will try my very best. I might have to do it 2 months in a row because in a few weeks from when you're listening to this, my family is going to Paris for the first time. A little family history. This is going to be like an Ask Me Anything / get to know me a little bit, I guess, which is fine because I haven't done this in a while. But my mom was in a military family. My grandfather was in the Air Force, and so they traveled and moved every 2 or so years, and they lived in Europe a lot. And then when they moved back to the States, my grandparents ended up landing in New Mexico, and my mom ended up in Rhode Island because at the time my grandparents were living in Rhode Island, and that's where she decided to go to college. So that's where I live now, is in Rhode Island. That's where I grew up. So yeah, so she hasn't been out of the country in a long time, but she used to travel a lot. I believe my grandmother brought her to Paris, and it was always a dream to do a girls' trip. My mom also has a sister, and I have my cousin Chandler, and I think my grandma had this dream of bringing all the girls, me, my sister, my mom, and my aunt and my cousin, to Paris and having a girls' trip, but unfortunately she passed away. So this is kind of like a really meaningful trip to all of us. My dad also used to travel a lot for work, and with you know what hasn't been able to and hasn't traveled in a while. So we're doing a nice little family trip. We used to do lots of family trips to New Hampshire. I feel like if anyone lives in New England, like, you know what I mean, the usual family Storyland trip. Honestly, the best place on earth. My family was not a Disney family. We do not go to Disney. We've been to Orlando once because my sister danced there with her dance troupe, so that was the only time we've ever gone, and we all kind of agreed that we really like New Hampshire more. But we haven't gone to that in a while because my sister and I are grown up now. And so yeah, we are kicking off our family exploration adventures with a nice big trip to Paris. And I feel super, super lucky that we get to do that as a family. So that is where we are going later this month. And that is a long update to say that that's might be why I don't get to record face-to-face like YouTube videos where you get to see me talking over the next 2 months. I'm really hoping, and I've scheduled time to do it, but you know, in life, things pop up, things happen. Tomorrow I have my next infusion at a new facility, and also unexpectedly we have a funeral in the morning, so that was when I was going to record the podcast. And so, you know, you just got to move things around sometimes and life happens. So anyways, today I'm recording all the podcasts and then I'll be putting them together for you. They will be out on time. So yeah, I just feel like consistency is key, and I just got to do something, even if it's not exactly what I wanted to do. But with that, I know that these are supposed to be short and actionable. I will say, while I'm giving an update, I am starting to do interviews for the podcast later this month. I think next week, actually. Yeah, this coming week, because it's April 23rd. And in the beginning of May, I'm going to be meeting with some people and talking about whether they're a good fit for the podcast and like what they want to talk about. So I'm really excited. I feel like I'm just like getting the hang of doing YouTube and the podcast and all of that, and now I'm like jumping into the next step. However, I feel like it's really important for the growth of the podcast to start having maybe a few longer episodes here and there with guests, because, you know, you don't want to hear me talk forever. I don't know everything. And so I think it's really important. Contrary to my teenage self, I don't know everything. I feel like it's really important to bring on experts in their field and listen to other encouraging stories about chronic illness. So if there's specific people you want to hear from, I'm not as big as I would like to be yet, so I don't know if I can get the attention of certain people, but if you have any connections, you want to hear from someone, that would be awesome. Just reach out to me through my email or on Instagram, wherever you want. I'm usually on all platforms, and let me know what you want to hear about, whether it's chronic illness stories or from experts in the wellness field. Yeah, just let me know. So with that, we're going to dive into a quick little ad, and then I will come back and answer some questions. I would also just like to put it out there and let you know that I have turned on listener support, which is offered through Anchor, which is the platform that I use to publish this podcast with Spotify. They offer several tiers that renew monthly for 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. And by picking one of these, you can support me so that I can continue to make these podcasts and deliver good quality content to you guys. I'm looking to maybe invest in a better microphone so that you don't hear my S's as annoyingly as you do now. So apologies for that, but that is something that I would put that money towards. I would also love to start having guests on, and you know, once you dive into something and you start getting into it, there's so many hidden costs and things once you start learning more and wanting to upgrade. So again, you would be greatly supporting my channel. If you feel inclined to do this, please feel free. If not, that's totally fine. This is free content, and I just want it to be totally accessible for anyone. But again, if you feel inclined, you can head to my page and click listener support, I believe, and yeah, just choose whatever tier you want, and that'll automatically renew each month. So if you want to just make a one-time payment, make sure to remember to cancel. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate you all for being here. And again, if you don't have the ability to make that contribution and want to know how you can help me out, leaving a review would be an amazing thing. So again, whatever you end up doing for this podcast, I appreciate you, even if you're just listening and that's all you can do right now. I really love you for that and appreciate you for that, and hope you'll stick around. Okay, so the first question is about magnesium supplements and what kind I take. So when I first got Crohn's, I met with a nutritionist and she recommended the brand Pure Encapsulations. I will have everything in the show notes, don't worry. I'm just going to mark this down to make sure I don't forget, because I hate that when I go to look in the show notes and nothing's there that they mentioned. So I'm noting this down. Pure Encapsulations is a great brand. They're super clean. They're more expensive, but I find that with supplements, if you are going to take them, don't even waste money on paying for half. Either don't take them at all or take the good kind and just wait until you can afford it, because what I found is that a lot of supplements have extra things in them that are not good, that don't align with your body, that can wreak more havoc. So it's just better to, if you can, afford the nicer brands. That's not always true. Sometimes they're way too expensive and they shouldn't be, maybe because they're trendy or otherwise, but Pure Encapsulations is my go-to brand for anything. I also love taking their one vitamin. It's a multivitamin. I just have trouble swallowing vitamins. So you can I did reach out to Pure Encapsulations. They did say that you can open all of their capsules or most of their capsules, such as the magnesium and one multivitamin. So I would just open that and put it in my smoothies. And it doesn't really make it taste bad as long as you have a stronger flavor, like a fruit in there. So I wouldn't recommend putting it in a juice, but otherwise, yeah, you can't really taste it. And I've just had a really good experience with them. The nutritionist also mentioned that if you do have Crohn's or IBS-D or UC, anything where you're more prone to having diarrhea, to take why am I blanking on the name now? It's called magnesium glycinate. That's what it is. Magnesium glycinate doesn't cause more loose stools. So sometimes if you're sensitive, magnesium citrate or the other kinds can cause looser bowel movements. So if you have IBS-C, it can be a really good hack to take this and see if it helps a little bit. Obviously take it consistently, whatever makes you most comfortable, just order that kind. But yeah, magnesium glycinate, it doesn't make you constipated necessarily, but it's just something to think about. If you have looser stools, maybe try that one. So that's what I took for a really long time. I still take Pure Encapsulations magnesium. And yeah, I still really love it. It's really good. Most people are lacking in magnesium. However, just make sure to talk to your doctor if they think it's a good idea before taking any supplements. Of course, I just had to put this disclaimer in there. But anyways, moving on to the next question, how diet helps in Crohn's disease. So this is a big question. Hopefully I can answer it in the way that's most helpful to you. So the way that I looked at it, and what totally just changed my view of my body when I got Crohn's disease was, and this just blows my mind, because you often hear a lot of doctors say that food and diet don't help Crohn's. or don't help Crohn's that much. That is what so many doctors said to me when I was first diagnosed, and getting different opinions and ideas because I just felt like steroids were really wrong for me. I wanted to learn as much as possible. I wanted to get help and learn about how probiotics and food could help me before starting a medication, and just rechange my diet rather than jumping on a medication that would mask my symptoms and allow me to keep living the same unhealthy lifestyle. I wanted to get myself healthy first. And that started with food and what I was eating. And it just blew my mind when a doctor said that, because someone said to me, and I'm mad because I can't remember who it is, all food goes through your intestines. Everything that you eat passes through your intestines. So how can you look me in the face and tell me that food doesn't impact the body? Because it does. It has to go through your intestines. It's interacting with the intestinal walls and the integrity of your intestinal walls. And food fuels your body. So your body can't heal. It can't live without food and water. So what you're putting in your body is determining the health of your body. And another one of my favorite phrases that I've said on here like 50 times is, genetics load the gun, your lifestyle pulls the trigger. Food, fitness, how like stress management, how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis is all influencing your genetics and how they present in your body. That's called epigenetics. So diet can really help you. I will say, one diet is probably not going to heal you. If it does, that's amazing. But it is rare, because there are varying degrees of Crohn's disease, and there's varying degrees of other diseases. And sometimes you just have to accept, well, I tried to heal myself with food. I tried to see if I could survive day to day with food, and I could survive, but I was not thriving. So about a year in, I made the decision to go on a medication. However, I didn't have to go on steroids. So that's how powerful food is. It got me from a severe Crohn's diagnosis to being able to go on the lowest dose of a medication at like the least frequent rate and feel absolutely amazing. So, and it also just keeps you like more in tune with your body. It reduces the potential for side effects because you're not having to take steroids or like crazy medications that are high doses of these medications, and creating this chain of side effects. And then you eventually get so far from your original state that you don't really know what to start with anymore. It can get really overwhelming. So starting with food and looking at food can really help you to just be the healthiest that you can be, and then have the help of medication. That is the way that I like to look at it. I'm not anti-medication at all. I am on medication, but diet to me and lifestyle are the root, where if you don't work on that, then your foundation's going to be off. So I hope that helps. Like, I don't know if you're looking for motivation, because I feel like I was just Tony Robbins. What is his name? Not Robinson. I was just being a Tony Robbins for a minute. So hopefully that wasn't annoying. But yes, that is how diet can help. And the easiest, like in case you're thinking, oh, well, I just wanted to know how to get started with using diet and food to heal. Well, look at whole foods. I mean, it's so hard. I don't know if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, but I am not. I think it's very hard to maintain that. I love the planet. I try to source all of my foods from local sustainable places. I can't always afford to do that, to be transparent. So I just try to find the most ethically sourced meats that I can, and fruits, local fruits. I go to the farm stand like once a week to get my vegetables and whatever's in season, because that's also really good for your body. So anything local is the first choice, and then just go and try to eat. You don't have to eat organic everything. My rule for myself is to get organic of whatever skins I'm going to be eating, and anything like a banana where I have to peel it to eat it. If you don't peel your banana, that's another story. if you're eating the skin of that thing, you want it to be organic because you're eating whatever is sprayed on it. However, you don't have to get organic of like a banana because you have to peel it. So anything they've sprayed, yes, it's influencing the genetics of that food, which is changing the nutritional value of that food, but that's a whole nother scientific thing to get into. Would love to have a guest on who knows anything about that. So if you're that kind of person, please let me know. Would love to have you on the podcast. But anyways, so if you're just starting out, that's a good way to transition and to mind your wallet is to anything that you're eating the skin of, get organic. For eggs, as an experiment, because to me, seeing is believing sometimes, which is strange because I believe in God, but seeing is believing to your subconscious. So get an egg from your local farm shop. If you're living in the middle of the city like Boston, that's hard to do. Go to Whole Foods and get a carton of whatever local eggs they have, like the best quality eggs that they have. And then go to like Stop and Shop or another like mainstream grocery store and get like the cheapest white eggs or whatever that you can find. When you crack them open, feel the integrity of the eggshell. Like, how easy does it crack? Does it kind of fall apart in your fingers? What does the yolk look like? Is it kind of like a pale yellow? That is going to be like the Stop and Shop egg, versus the local egg is probably going to be harder to crack open, and the yolk is going to be more of like an orange color. The more orange the yolk, the more nutritional value it has. And the same goes for like a lot of fruits and vegetables. Like the more vibrant colors that you're eating, the more nutrition you're getting into your body. So that's another thing to like look for when starting like using food to help get healthier. I'm going on a rant. I know, I'm sorry, but those are some tips to get you started. Sorry, it's not super structured. I can go into any of those more on another episode. But yeah, that is how I kind of got started with Crohn's disease. And I didn't know all of that when I was first starting. These are just things that I've kind of accumulated. So the best thing you can do is just start, and you'll be so surprised. Like, it's 3 years later, and I'm so surprised at how different my life is compared to 3 years ago. Crohn's disease and chronic illness can completely flip your world upside down, and it's so cool because I knew when I first got Crohn's, like, I'm so mad about having to change my diet right now, and I hate this. I have such a sweet tooth. I eat whatever I want. I'm so annoyed, but I feel like in a year or 3 years or 5 years, I'm going to look back and feel grateful for this because it'll probably change my life. Because you always know. I feel like you always know. But it takes doing it and looking back to be like, oh, yeah, yep. So I'm happy to say that I'm very grateful. And that is a very hard thing to say because being grateful for a chronic illness is such a strange concept, but I mean, what else am I going to do? Be sad about it my whole life? I don't know. So anyways, we're going to move on to the next question before I become Tony Robbins again. Another question. So this one is hard for me to answer. Does azathioprine cause skin problems? That's the first part of the question. So I don't actually even really know what that is, and I haven't been on it, so I can't speak to that. But this person also said, can I talk about medications taken for Crohn's? Which I believe I've touched on a little bit, but I will say I'm hesitant to answer this question because everyone is different, and I think the reason why I want to answer it is because with Crohn's, so if you don't have Crohn's, or if you're new to having Crohn's or IBD, we have choice on the medications, mostly because our insurances choose to cover what they're going to cover. And so we kind of like, we have a choice, but we also don't, because our insurance dictates what we pay. However, like, you might be on something that's really expensive and wanting to choose to something not as expensive. So I don't know if that makes sense, but with Crohn's and UC, you have this ability, depending on like whether or not you can afford it, to choose what medication you're on. So I'm going to talk about it for that reason. However, I would say like medications are really personal, and it's really up to your doctor to decide what you should be on. My doctor prescribed this medication to me, so that makes it unique to me. I am on the lowest dose and the lowest frequency, which I am extremely grateful for. And that is because I worked really hard to get to this point. But it's also not going to be your fault if this doesn't work for you, or you're different. Like, everyone is just different. And I strongly believe, if you haven't listened to my Crohn's story, that it was easier for me to work towards this place of health because I got Crohn's disease so late in life and so quickly. I went from not having any GI issues to being completely bedridden in 3 months. And so there's also, I love these sayings. There's also another saying that I love, that however long you have a habit, or however long you have a condition or chronic illness, or like gut issues, for example, however long you feel like your gut's been off, it's going to take probably double that time to reverse it, because the body, like, it needs time to heal. That's just how it is. So if you've had Crohn's or UC for a really long time, it's just probably going to be different. Or if it runs in the family, it's going to be different. Mine doesn't run in the family. I have so many opinions on where my Crohn's disease came from, but just to get to the heart of it, because I only had it very severely for about a year, and now I'm in remission. I think I achieved remission because I had it for however many months, and then it took me almost double that time to completely get to this place of remission and have my intestines heal and be able to see that on a colonoscopy. So anyways, with all that being said, I am on Remicade, except I'm not on Remicade. It's a biosimilar drug. So you have your standard drugs for, I guess there's actually a really good way that I could answer this, and I haven't done the research to be able to accurately explain. So maybe I can answer this later. I'm just going to answer it as well as I can right now without like getting too deep into the science, but there are biosimilar drugs. So for example, Remicade is the generic drug, and then Pfizer makes a biosimilar version, like their own version, as you like any medication. For example, like Zoloft is a brand name of a generic medication, so they make their own version of it and slap their brand name on it. And sometimes there are different ingredients, and that's what makes it different. So I'm on a biosimilar drug to Remicade. It's called Inflectra, and it's made by Pfizer, and that is what my insurance covers. We thought for a little bit that I was going to have to switch to Remicade. So technically they would classify it as me going on a new drug. And when you first start a infusion therapy drug, you have to do it usually in the hospital under supervision for a longer period of time in case you have an allergic reaction. So they were going to treat it as a newer drug. I was going to just be able to do it in the infusion suite since I'm on a biosimilar. I don't know all of the details in the protocols, but I am still on Inflectra. I've been on Inflectra for over a year now, like a year and 4 months, I think. So yeah, it's been great. It's worked really well for me, but I don't want to get too deep into that because obviously it changes for everyone. But this is getting quite long, so I'm going to wrap this up here. If you have any questions for me, please leave them for me, send them my way. Sometimes they do get stuck in the request folder, so I will try to be better at checking that. But for now, until next week, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for being here. Well, that is it for now, lovelies. Thank you so much for tuning in. For more tips and to join our online community off the podcast, follow Lovely Digest on Instagram and Emily Beck on YouTube. The links will be below. To join our email community and get notified of new discounts, tips, and resources, follow the link in the show notes. If you thought this was helpful or know if it might help a friend, please make sure to share it, and if you feel inclined, leave a review. It really helps get these tips in front of the people who may really benefit from this community we have here. See you next week.